Good morning, friends. The subject of my talk this morning is what is spiritual initiation. This is an expression which is the translation of some Sanskrit words like mantra diksha. In other religious traditions, this word is not really present. That means the beginning of spiritual life with the help of some holy name. That is the subject. Once a person came to Sri Ramakrishna and asked, "Revered Sir, what is the goal of human life?" And Sri Ramakrishna, without a moment's hesitation, said, "The goal of human life is to experience divinity." How to do it? Well, by chanting the holy name of God and having the company of the holy. That means others would do likewise. Chanting of the holy name of God. Yes. In the culture in which I was born, which is called Hinduism by others, but our ancestors would call it the perennial religion or Sanatana Dharma. We call it Vedanta, the end of all knowledge. In our tradition, this spiritual initiation is considered absolutely necessary. It is the beginning of spiritual practice, so to say. I was born in India, and we all belong to one caste or the other. And I was born in the caste which is the priestly caste, so to say, a Brahmana caste. And according to that tradition of that caste, I had to have spiritual initiation, which is called Upanayanam. When I was about 8 or 10 years old, I don't exactly remember. At that time, this Upanayanam was held. And a person who has had Upanayanam is really considered a Brahmin. So I was given the Upanayanam, and I was given a holy name or prayer, which I had to chant as many times as possible. And that prayer is called Gayatri Mantra. It is a prayer to God, who is the Lord of all the three worlds, the nether world, this world, and the higher world. So it goes like this. Om Bhur Swatat Saviturvarenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yana Prachodayat Om. O God, you are the Lord of all the three worlds. I meditate on your effulgence. Please enlighten me. Enlighten me means, please let me know my inherent divinity, that is, I am divine. And how to know it with the help of a teacher. Teacher is called a guru. The word guru means dispeller of spiritual darkness. So in the ultimate sense, it is God who is the guru. He works through some human agents who are called gurus. When I was a young man, I had my Upanayanam, and I had to chant the Gayatri mantra as many times as was possible for me. So by nature I am obedient. So I obeyed the teacher who had given me this mantra, Gayatri mantra, and I chanted it many times. Until a time came when this mantra became automatic. Effortlessly my mind would go on chanting that mantra. Meanwhile, I had grown in years, and I came to know a holy man who lived in our town. And I went to see him. I had respect for him, but I never thought that I would get any spiritual help from him, except seeing him leading a holy life. Then after a while, I discovered that he had a few disciples, and they expected that I should have spiritual initiation from that holy man. But my mind was not ready for it. Then I said to God, God, please show me who would be my guru, who would give me spiritual initiation. And after a while, I had a strange dream. In that dream, I could see a Swami of the Ramakrishna Order giving me spiritual initiation. That Swami was Swami Bhaskarananda. At that time, he was president of the Ramakrishna Order, I think. But this dream has no tangible effect on my mind because I thought I would not act according to the dream. Dreams are the product of our imagination, so I should not act upon that. Then it so happened that in my town, where there is a center, which we call such centers ashramas in India, and so in that ashrama and the city where I lived there, I grew up actually, there it is called Shillong, which is the capital of the province of Assam at that time. And so Swami Bhaskarananda visited the ashram of the Ramakrishna Order, which was in Shillong. And then something strange happened. In my dream, I saw him giving me some spiritual initiation, asking me to chant some mantras. I woke up and I didn't remember those mantras, but I thought, after all, it is a dream. I'm not going to him to have spiritual initiation. Dreams are only there, are created by our only imagination. But due to circumstances beyond my control, eventually I had to go to him. And then when he was about to give him spiritual initiation by asking me to chant some holy name of God. Then my mind said, well, the chanting of the holy name may not be possible for me to do because the Gayatri mantra has become automatic in my mind. Effortlessly, my mind goes on chanting. But my fear was not really reliable because when the mantras were given by my guru, then those mantras became automatic and the Gayatri mantra was no longer automatic. Then I realized that all those years of chanting the Gayatri mantra helped me to gain control over my mind. So whatever I asked my mind to do, the mind started doing it. That is one of the benefits of chanting the holy name. There is a saying that whatever we think we become. So if you go on chanting the holy name of God, eventually we will manifest our divinity. There will be some real transformation of our minds. And when the mind becomes transformed, then it is called a pure mind. And when the mind becomes pure, that experience comes. That we are divinity, that experience comes. Even in Christianity, Jesus teaches, be ye perfect as the Father in heaven is perfect. That means eventually you manifest your divinity. And in the so-called Hinduism, or we call it Vedanta, it is said that the highest teaching is that teaching which reminds us that we are divinity. Aham Brahmasmi, I am divinity. Tattamasi, you are divine. I am Atma Brahma. That's what you call the soul, that is also divinity. Sarvam Khalidam Brahma, everything is divinity. These are called great sentences or Mahavakyas. These are the most important teachings that are there in the religion which is called Hinduism by others. But we call it Sanatana Dharma or Vedanta. Chanting the holy name of God transforms a person. And that holy name one gets when one has spiritual initiation. He gets it from the teacher. And the teacher should be pure and he should be knowledgeable about the scriptures and he should be akamahata. That means he must not have any worldly desire. There is a story of a teacher. He was giving a discourse on God and many devotees were present before him. And by the time he ended his discourse, the devotees who were there, they started applauding by clapping their hands. And the teacher also started doing the same. Then one of his disciples who was a monk, he asked later on, he asked his teacher, "Sir, why were you applauding? It was like you are applauding yourself, but you are humble, humility personified. Why did you do that? Then the teacher said, why not? Because I could see God speaking using my body and mind. So that's why I was applauding God. And one teacher, when he had finished giving his discourse, a devotee came and put a bundle near his feet and saluted him. Then the teacher asked, what does that bundle contain? They said, well, it contains 10,000 rupees, which is like $1 million. Then the teacher kicked away that bundle, which sort of embarrassed that giver, that devotee. Then he said, revered sir, this bundle contains 10,000 rupees and you have kicked it away. Then the teachers and the devotee said, you won't have too many devotees who can give you such gifts. Then the teacher said, and you won't have too many monks also who can kick away such bundles. Akamahata, without any worldly desire. That's what the teacher should be like. And in spiritual initiation, a mantra is given which is special mantra. That's called Siddha mantra. Mantra which has helped somebody to experience divinity. What is Siddha mantra? Well, there is a story. A person named John had some pain in his stomach. Then he went to the doctor. The doctor said that he had cancer in his stomach. Cancer is a deadly disease. And John became very upset and returned home. And his wife asked him, what is the outcome of your appointment with your doctor? Then he said, John said that I have cancer in my stomach. And John was very upset. And his wife said to him, don't worry, you will be cured. And John had a little son. And that son also said, Daddy, don't get worried, you will be cured. But their words did not remove the sadness of John. After a few days, the best cancer specialist of the country came to the town where John lived. And John was lucky to get an appointment with the doctor. And that cancer specialist examined him and said, you don't have to worry, your disease will be cured. And then his worries were gone. When he returned home, he said what the cancer specialist had told him. Although, truly speaking, it is almost the same words which his wife had told him before. That is, don't worry, you will be cured. And his little son also said the same thing. But their words did not have that much effect on John's mind. But the cancer specialist's words had special effect. His sadness was gone. So what is special about the cancer specialist? Because his words were special words. Souls are Siddha mantras. Some holy name when given by a teacher is very powerful, which can really liberate people. Then such mantra will have effect on the mind of the devotee. So one should chant the such mantras. In the Ramakrishna Order, the monks can never think that they are gurus or teachers. They think that it is God only who is the guru. The mantras that are given, they think that they have come from God, and they are the instruments only to pass on that mantra to the devotee. Aside from that, that mantra should have something called bija mantras. Those are very powerful. Like Om, Hring, Kling, these are bija mantras. And all these Siddha mantras start with such bija mantras. And these Siddha mantras have such power, which other mantras do not have. That's why in the Ramakrishna Order, some Siddha mantras are kept in the custody of the very senior monks, such as the president. And he gives one or more of these mantras to the devotees. And the devotees also should have great respect for the teacher, which is called Shraddha, true yearning. A devotee who has true yearning will be benefited by such mantras. I know some devotees whose lives were completely transformed after having spiritual initiation. At that time, I was attached to our center in India. I had already become a monk. And there was a devotee whose name was Mrs. Das. She is the wife of a very rich landlord. And such rich landlords are like little kings. And such a landlord is called Jamidar. She is the wife of one Jamidar of Assam. And she lived in her house near the ashrama, Shillong ashrama. And she used to come to the temple sometimes. And then it was seen that she had become very sad. What was the reason for her sadness? The reason for her sadness was that she had a son, the only son, child, and that son was married to a girl. Marriage was organized by the parents, of course, as is the custom in India in those days. But unfortunately, this daughter-in-law of Mrs. Das could not get along with her husband's mother. And that made Mrs. Das very unhappy and sad. So he would come to the temple and with a sad face he would sit there. Then it seems Swami Vishuddhananda, who was the president of the Ramakrishna Order at that time, came and he gave initiation to some people. And Mrs. Das was one of the fortunate ones to have initiation. After getting initiation or getting the Siddha mantra from her guru, a radical change came to her life. Her sadness was gone. And I see her sitting on the front steps of the temple outside and with a cheerful face. And when people would come there, she would greet them with great happiness, thinking as though they all belong to the same spiritual family. This radical change came to Mrs. Das after getting initiation. Then there was a neighbor who lived close to the Shillong ashrama, and the Shillong ashrama was very poor at that time, in the sense they didn't have enough money. And so that food was the simplest food that could be available. So they would eat every day rice and some lentil soup. That was their food. They couldn't even buy milk. Because they didn't have the money. But while eating, out of gratitude to God, they would become cheerful, and then some senior Swami would tell something, tell a religious joke or something, and everybody would laugh aloud. And that neighbor, Mr. Mukherjee, was a government officer. And on holidays, he heard the monks laughing aloud while eating. Then his wife said to him, "The monks must eat very well. That's why they are laughing." And Mr. Mukherjee said, "How well they eat, let me go and see." And while the monks were eating their main meal, midday meal, then he stood at the door, front door, and he could see the monks eating that simple food. And just lentil soup and rice. Then he went back to his wife and said that they had only this food, and they were laughing because of some other reason. Then his wife off and on would send some vegetable dish for the monks to the center of Shillong ashrama. And Mr. Mukherjee was an ordinary person, but he also had initiation from Swami Vishuddhananda, it seems. And after that, I didn't see him for many years because I was transferred to the headquarters near Calcutta, which is Belur Math. And from there, eventually I was sent to Seattle. During one of my visits from this country to India, when I was at the headquarters, then Swami Krishnatmananda, who used to be a Swami in the Shillong ashrama, happened to be present there. And he knew me very well. And he said to me, I'm going to see Mr. Mukherjee. He is retired. He is retired and he is in Calcutta. So will you come with me? I will go to see him. Then I agreed, and we both of us went to Mr. Mukherjee's home. Mr. Mukherjee was alone there. It was a large house. There was a servant there, that's all. And Mr. Mukherjee was exceedingly glad to see both of us. And he said that his wife had died, and while dying, she chanted the holy name of God. And he was a completely transformed person. We had to stay there at his request for at least an hour. And all the time he was talking about God. And God to him was Sri Ramakrishna. He was talking about him. I was amazed to see his transformation. He did not say any worldly thing, only about Sri Ramakrishna. So this change came to him due to chanting the holy name of God, or due to initiation which he had from Swami Bhaskarananda. Sri Sarada Devi used to say that chanting the holy name surely transforms the mind. And you should chant the holy name, that means a Siddha mantra, for a lot of time. And the Holy Mother Sri Sarada Devi said, if you can perform the chanting of the holy name 10,000 times every day, then you will surely see tangible results. That means you will eventually experience divinity. That is Sri Sarada Devi, another divine incarnation. She said so. And I also have seen how chanting the holy name has transformed some elderly Swamis of our order. And those who have chanted the holy name for many years, and their minds would automatically go on chanting the holy name, their nature was also completely changed. They had gained total control over their minds. There was one Swami named Shashwatananda Swami, elderly Swami. And at that time I was an novitiate monk at the training center for novitiate monks at the headquarters. And it was Suresh Maharaj who knew about us. Then he had some physical problem, and the doctor asked him to eat certain things and avoid eating many of the things. Then he asked me to come and see whether his food was all right. He knew that I had studied science and I knew about food and other things. And whatever the doctor had asked him to do, he would follow that literally. That was Swami Satsvatanandaji or Suresh Maharaj. I saw other Swamis also who are similar. That control over their minds. So, the spiritual initiation is considered absolutely necessary for spiritual growth. Our minds are the repositories of our thoughts. Every thought that we think gets stored up in the mind. It is like a lake, and it goes down. And for an average person who is not interested in spiritual life, the minds are repositories of garbage, as one of our Swamis used to call those thoughts. Yes, his name was Swami Bhaskarananda. He used to call those worldly thoughts garbage. So through chanting of the holy name, when those holy thoughts would outnumber that garbage, then the mind keeps on changing. Eventually a time comes when this mind is almost full of holy thoughts. And those holy thoughts counteract those worldly thoughts. And those worldly thoughts slowly start dissipating. And the mind becomes pure, full of holy thoughts. Such a mind is the mind which can experience divinity. And when the mind becomes holy, the ego disappears. And the mind becomes full of divinity. That's why in our tradition there is a saying, Nahang, Nahang, Tu, Tu. Not I, but thou, O God. Sri Ramakrishna would advise the devotees to expel their eyes with the thought of you. You means God. Then a person's mind fills with divine thought. And such a mind manifests divinity completely. And that is the goal of spiritual life actually. And this chanting of the holy name, which starts with spiritual initiation, is absolutely necessary to experience divinity. Friends, I have spoken for over 40 minutes, and that should be enough for this morning. So, the ultimate teaching is what? That we should fill our minds with holy thoughts. When that will happen, divinity will become manifested in us. Divinity is present everywhere, but not equally present. A mind which is full of holy thoughts, their divinity is most manifest. A divine incarnation is full of holy thoughts. They are like multi-trillion watt light bulbs, if light is compared to divinity. Others have divinity equally present, but not manifested. We have to manifest our divinity by chanting the holy name, which we shall get during our spiritual initiation. That's why spiritual initiation is absolutely necessary.